Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco. Dish out on the movies. Today we are doing a remake of a movie, a Christmas movie, a Christmas horror movie called Black Santa.
No!
Black Christmas. No, I don't know what it is then.
Black Christmas,
Oh,
Safi.
okay, it is Black Christmas.
Not Black Santa.
Sorry,
I don't know
that
what.
mixed up with the other thing. Is there a Black Santa or
No, there's Bad Santa.
Bad Santa?
That's
Yeah.
a modern movie. That's not.
Well, this
So-
is a modern movie too.
The
Isn't
the
it?
original wasn't, and we reviewed the original, and we didn't think it was really all that. Like, I felt like it had great atmosphere. It was a kind of creepy horror movie, but there was like some stupid stuff with that where like they had this red herring, and you just didn't believe that the red herring was the killer, and it was kind of boring too. I mean, I know that's horrible to say that like this classic movie is boring, but it was boring. So, but there were some really good parts, but I really felt like the original Black Christmas was definitely a movie that was ripe to remake. I mean, Safi, she can't even remember it. So.
No, just vaguely.
Really?
Very vaguely.
Yeah.
It didn't stand out in any way
Yeah.
at all.
It was just
the movie's
boring.
good. It's gonna stand out in some way that you remember.
Yeah.
I think.
There are some people that think it's like the greatest thing ever made, and
The first one?
yeah. This remake, though, it came out in 2006, and they had a chance to improve on the original. They had a wide open chance, and well, overall, did you like the movie, Safi?
Oh, it was all right. It was weird because when it started out, I've watched quite a few Hallmark movies over the years, and it started out just like a Hallmark movie. Even the music, the decorations, everything, you would have thought you were going to be watching a Hallmark movie. Because they, apparently for Hallmark movies, for those Christmas movies they make every year, they have like 2 locations. I think one's in Utah, or maybe they're both are in Utah or something. And they just kind of change the scenery a little bit, but they go to the same ones every time. And this wasn't exactly like the Utah one, but it just all the decorations and the music, everything on it. It was just weird. It was kind of like, this is a horror movie, but then it got off to the horror movie traditional start.
Yeah.
And so it changed from then on. It didn't look like a Hallmark movie in any way anymore, but it was weird.
The music was kind of weird because, you know, how many times in this movie did they play that?
That's a Nutcracker theme.
Like
It's a theme from the Nut.
they played that song over and over and over again in this movie, like to the point of where it was getting kind of annoying. Like they played it like I think up to like 50 times. The full
they would
song.
show the. It came from a music box. It was not exactly a box, but it was a real pretty porcelain or ceramic. I don't even know what it was exactly.
I thought it would have been great for the final girl to just mash it to pieces, so that
I'm
we
kinda
wouldn't have to
surprised
hear it
didn't
again.
get smashed to pieces.
Yeah, it just conveniently didn't get touched after, you know, like all this huge fight in the attic and that happens near the end of the movie. But we should start off at the beginning. We're not really going to go through it because, I mean, it's pretty typical of like these types of movies where you have a group of people in a setting and they get killed. And then at the end, one of them kills the killer, and then that's that. But there are some differences that we'll talk about, different things that they added to make it more interesting. But I wrote a bunch of notes at the beginning, and because at the beginning I thought, this movie's going to be really, really bad. because like there were so many weird and stupid things that were happening. Like for some reason they're passing out these like Christmas meals. I don't know if it's like a dinner or if it's a treat. Like the guard was passing, or some guy, he was passing out meals to the patients at this.
I didn't even know what, I was trying to figure out what that was.
Sanatorium, and well, everyone else.
What's the sanatorium?
Everyone else got these. It was a plate with a carton of milk, and 2 shortbread cookies, and a candy cane. But then Billy, you know, the killer, which you would only know if you saw the original, Billy has the same stuff, but then he also has these pieces of roast chicken with no gravy, no mashed potatoes or anything else, and then he doesn't even get any milk. And I was thinking, like, no wonder that Billy is pissed off. Like, he's thirsty. And so that's why he's going to the sororities, because he's so thirsty. And, like, because he doesn't have anything to drink. You know, that's the reason why. Right, Safi? Because, like, he didn't get any milk or anything to drink with that. Like, he's eating this turkey, and he's shoving it down his throat, and he's like, he's eating it like a quote-unquote, like a crazy person would eat turkey, or, no, chicken. And then all of a sudden, one of the weirdest things, too, is that the security guard, he goes up and opens a patient's, like, slot so that some random Santa Claus impersonator can look at the prisoner inside, or the patient, and I thought, that's pretty weird. Would they really be doing that?
No.
Like, just opening up the slot for anyone to peek inside like it's a museum or something?
Well, I think that's really abusive.
If
somebody didn't get that, and also if they're totally dependent on somebody else bringing them a drink, and they can't leave, I think that's terrible. I don't know. It's just weird.
I mean, he didn't have anything to drink at all. Like, what was he supposed to do? Drink out of the toilet? Like Bernie, our cat?
He doesn't drink out of the toilet.
What does he do? And so then, too, we had a lot of cringeworthy, like, exposition dialogue about Billy's backstory, like, right in the opening scene. So there's no mystery at all to this killer. You know, unlike in the original where you don't know who it is at all exactly. It's just this random creepy guy, and it might be the boyfriend, but probably not. And then finally, there's a lot of weird, like, transitions that they do in this movie. And one of the transition is that they show Billy eating the chicken like a crazy person, and then they cut from that to the people kissing. And it was like the sounds of him eating chicken was like the same kind of sounds as the people kissing. And I was like, this is really, really weird here. And right off the bat, it didn't feel like a Hallmark movie to me. It felt like, what if some YouTuber made a Black Christmas fan film?
Really? I guess so.
Because that was weird.
That's not very professional.
It just didn't work. It was kind of like, it just stuck out. And then also, too, patients in this sanatorium are allowed to have Christmas lights in their room and on the window so that they can hurt themselves with it or others.
Oh, I know.
Right?
Glass, broken glass,
it's pretty weird.
Where somebody could get electrocuted.
They just did it for the lighting, though. They wanted that Christmas lighting, but it was so, like, obvious that, like, why would a patient be allowed to have this in their room? And to me, too, I think it would have been better to not have any light so that you could contrast the dark sanatorium with no Christmas lighting to the sorority house with all that Christmas lighting all over the place. Yeah. That would have been a much better filmmaking thing to do. And then, so he gets to escape, and it's very obvious that he's going to escape. But it's a really cliche and stupid scene where the security guard looks in the slot and he doesn't see Billy. And then he also gave him a present to tell him that he would be home on Christmas. And so the security guard is such an idiot that he opens up the door and goes inside to search for Billy, even though there's literally nowhere he can go. He's in a fucking cell. Remember that?
It's just hard to believe.
He couldn't see Billy, and so he's like, "Uh-oh, I gotta go in there and find him." Like, what an idiot. Like, just stupid people in these horror movies. And so he goes in there, and he does the cliche thing where he's, like, looking around, and he's, like, looking in the corner like Billy's a mouse, and then he just gets out from under the bed and kills him and stabs him with the candy cane that he sharpened into a knife. And I thought, this is just so dumb right here. Like, this is so cliche, too. And they show Billy's face 8 minutes into the movie, so you know that this character is not going to be like in the original. He's going to be a very different interpretation. Right, Safi?
I wouldn't know. I don't remember the original. It's just that they show him, so it's not like he's a secret. And you have to figure out, if somebody is who... Well, there is something that you have to figure out, though, within the movie later on. But, and you think you've got it figured out, but it's weird because of a reason, which Marco said, which doesn't make sense either. I don't understand, but anyway. But him, you know that it's him, and that's it. But I don't know what the procedure would be. You look in a room, you can't see. I can't imagine. You could go. You
just go in there.
You just keep watching. You go look on the camera.
What I would do is I would say, literally 1 second ago, this crazy fucking killer guy gave me a Christmas present that said I'm going to be home for Christmas. What do you think he's doing? He's trying to escape.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure.
He's trying to lure you in.
Yeah.
How couldn't you figure that out? Like it.
I don't know. I just wonder what the procedure would be. But I mean, if it's a tiny room, there's nowhere to hide, and the only place to hide would be under the bed.
What I would, I know it. He never even checked under the bed.
There was no window, was there?
He checked in the toilet. No, there was a window, but it was closed, and the Christmas lights were still there, so that you could have the ambient lighting without any logic or reasoning behind it. And then there was another really weird transition to a flashback where the house mother at this sorority, she is eating a marshmallow that she toasted over the fireplace.
Yeah.
And they zoom into her mouth as she's eating the marshmallow, and then
puts the whole thing in her mouth.
Yeah, all at once. She doesn't like to just take a bite. She likes to put the whole thing in there. And they zoomed in, and then boom, cut, transition to flashback. Like, that was really weird too. Like, you see what I mean? These weird scene transitions, Safi. Like, that's just weird.
Is that deliberate? Is that a mistake?
It is. That's deliberate. They're like trying to be like stylized or something.
But it doesn't come off.
No.
As anything special.
All you do is just show her eating the marshmallow and don't zoom in and then dissolve to the next shot. You don't zoom into her mouth as she's eating the marshmallow. And that was really weird. So, they show the backstory of Billy kind of like, they show it in fragments. And what did you think about the stupid backstory, Safi? Because, like, I thought parts of it I liked, and parts of it just made me want to stab my eyes out with a candy cane.
I thought it was a little incomplete.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, after you have the initial part, that's when it's his first year, and when you have a baby, you get baby's first Christmas, and you have an ornament. And they have all kinds of things, like for all the holidays. Baby's first birthday, baby's first Easter. But really for Christmas, because, people have trees, you have baby's first Christmas, and they show the mother This mother says she doesn't like him because he reminds her of her husband, and she doesn't like him either. So she doesn't like him, and the baby. The shot they had of the baby, it's like the baby understood what was going on. And
like a baby genius.
It's like it was weird. A baby looked like it was very calm and like it understood everything she was saying and doing. And she got the ornament. It was a glass ornament, like the ball kind. And so she had it in her hand and she crushed it.
Yeah.
And she had all those pieces. I thought she was going to get them stuck in her skin.
Because she was mad.
Was going to bleed or whatever.
And it's funny, too, because something that they add that I thought was one of the stupidest things of the movie, because it almost made it feel like a cartoon, is that Billy in this movie, he has a rare liver condition that makes all of his skin yellow.
That's right, and she said that too.
And usually when that happens, it means that you have a bad liver, so I don't know what this is, this kind of condition. It's pretty strange. It's like an X-File episode or something, and that's another weird thing about this movie, is that the guy who made it, he directed episodes of the X-Files, and then, there are several actors in this that are from X-Files or that were in it, like, Billy's mom, she was that woman in that revival episode where they would do play the hangman game. The woman who dressed up like she was a man and she was her own brother. Remember that?
I suppose.
You remember that episode? That was one of the better episodes of the revival. But I thought that it was really stupid for him to have a yellow skin condition because it makes him stick out. Like in the original, it's scary because he could have just been any guy.
Well, when you have a new baby. Now, I don't know about later on. This baby had to have been older. Baby wasn't brand new. But of course, they do this because they'll get a little bit of an older baby and they'll pretend like it's new. But, just a personal experience. You can have a baby that has jaundice. And jaundice means they're yellowish. But that condition goes away. I think they just have to have, I can't even remember because I didn't have to ever worry about that.
No, this character has it forever. He's Yellow Man. He's instead of Blue Man.
A liver condition, but I wasn't sure if that was supposed to be a permanent thing.
It's permanent. It was permanent. Remember? As an adult, he had it too.
That's just kind of strange.
I told you it's like an X-File episode.
It is something that can happen when a baby's born, but they usually do things to remedy it when it goes away. And
honestly, too, I gotta say, like, when I think of Black Christmas, the original, I don't think of the X-Files. So I don't know why a guy who did X-Files episodes would be allowed to do a Black Christmas movie, because they really don't relate to each other at all. And you can see that, like, him having done the X-Files impacted and influenced this in a negative way. So, and then they cut to a couple of years later, and his dad gives him a Christmas present, and then his mom, and then the guy that she's having an affair with, they kill his dad, and then they bury him in the crawl space, right? Or where?
No, it was outside, I think. I don't know. It's weird because
it's dark.
Yeah, it's dark, and they have this area below the house. In fact, later on in the movie, because it turns into a sorority house, the lights go out, and the girl has to crawl under the house to get to the fuse box.
Yeah.
Which was kind of strange. So the area, they kind of have this big area. It's not just underneath that, because, you have the basement. So, you have this area, like, around the house, like it's like this outer, like a fence, like a carved part, like an ornate carved part.
I don't know what it's called. It's
weird.
Like a porch thing, the porch thing where, like, you can get underneath it and everything.
Yeah. And And so then somehow it connects to the basement or whatever. It's just really weird. And she gets killed, but I mean, it's a whole area, and it was really hard to tell what he was looking through. He had all kinds of hidden places
holes.
That he could hide and put things.
He had holes, though.
Yeah, and then there were holes where he could just look with his eyeball.
It was really queer because right off the bat, this is why I say it feels like a fan film. Because young Billy, he is peeking through a hole to look at his parents and them doing this. And the shot that they do looks exactly like in the original, where near the end of the movie, basically, the only thing that you see of Billy in the original is you see this shot where she looks into this creek between these two doors, I think, and then she sees his eyeball peeking out at her, and it's really, really scary. And then he gets out and he chases her and attacks her, and, that was the original. But in this, they used that as like a homage with the young Billy doing that. I thought that was so queer. And it is so queer, too, because that is all this Billy guy does.
Look through holes?
Yeah, he looks through holes.
Well, one weird was in the bathroom.
Yeah, well, they have multiple ones on the bathroom floor, the tiles.
Which is really strange.
Yeah.
Because where would you be?
I don't know.
In an area under the floor? You have that much space that you could fit an adult body?
It's terrible because it's almost like People Under the Stairs, where like there's just all these like hidden areas you can go into and you can like climb all over. And I really think like instead of killing people, maybe Billy should have like signed up for like American Gladiator or something. Like some sort of obstacle course thing, because like the amount of like climbing that he has to do in this movie to be able to like crawl around like a mouse.
Well, he's that in the X-Files you talked about.
Oh yeah, the squeeze guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was good though. That was scary too. This wasn't scary.
Wasn't. But after you said the thing about the X-Files, that's what it made me think of. But it doesn't make any sense. He doesn't have this ability to, like in that X-Files episode.
That guy was kind of like this guy. I think that the director was doing that on purpose. Let's see, did that guy direct that episode? I'll check that out. And then they jump back and forth between modern day and then the flashbacks, which I wonder if Safi liked that, because she doesn't like that. Did you like that, Safi?
It wasn't too bad. It wasn't as bad as some other things we've watched. And
at the sorority, I thought one of the weird things was that they used a nerdy girl as a jump scare. And so, like, one of the girls is about to go upstairs, and then all of a sudden she's like, oh! And then we see right in front of her, it's like, what's so scary? It's a nerdy girl. Ew!
Well, I didn't even, I thought she was related to the bad guy. I thought that was going to be the sister.
She's got glasses! Ew! And, like, seriously, like, it was like a nerdy girl stereotype. It was really, really funny.
Treated her like she was a monster.
Yeah, they treated her like she was like a spy or something. It was really strange.
And I thought for a while, I thought she was one of the bad guys.
Yeah.
She was the sister, but then they showed her in this area where a bunch of people had been killed, and he had them all around. And she was one of the people who had been killed. He
wasn't a director of like the old episodes of X-Files, but he did produce them. He was one of the producers of Squeeze. And I think that he thought, let's make this guy like the guy from Squeeze. Like Mr. Toombs.
But there was more to it than that for that show.
Yeah.
Because he actually had some kind of special power or ability. And
he was a monster.
This guy doesn't have that.
He's a man.
He's just a regular man.
He's a weird man. And so I thought that was really weird when they used a nerdy girl as a jump scare. That was like really out of nowhere. Like, it's just, she's a nerd. She's got glasses. Ew. And her hair is in a bun. It's not long like the other girls. Ew.
Well,
And
she had it up.
she gives one of the girls, it might have been the final girl, she gave the final girl a present, and it was a unicorn ornament, which is used as a weapon throughout the movie.
To stab people's eyes out.
Is a callback to the original with the unicorn in that one scene.
Well, what I thought was really gross, and I guess I tried to put it out of my mind. I saw it up on the screen.
With the cookie scene?
No, when they showed the flashbacks.
Oh, the incest thing?
Yeah.
Well,
I was shocked about that. I just thought that was terrible.
yeah, they lock him up in the attic, and they never explain, like, how he gets food or anything. Like...
I thought they were going to let him be up there and not feed him, and he was going to die up there.
No, they had to feed him, because, I mean, he couldn't survive
I know.
to an adult.
I know, I just...
So...
he seemed to be happy up there.
Yeah.
I guess he was just waiting his time before he could kill it.
And, of course, it's all because in the original, he liked to be in the attic. And, like, here's the thing. In the original, he liked to be in the attic because he could hide there easily and nobody looked up in the attic. That's why he was up there. He wasn't up there because he had some sort of fascination with the attic. So, like, all this, like, over-explaining about the whole backstory and all the things he did in the original, I don't really like that. And, but what?
Anyway, well, his mother sexually abused him.
Yeah.
She heard some noises, and she had been having sex with her new husband,
And she's like,
he fell asleep.
You just don't do it for me.
He fell asleep, and then she went upstairs, and they just showed her dropping her clothes, and he's up there, and then it says 9 months later, and she had his baby.
Yeah, she
had her son's baby.
Well, it's like Chinatown. Right? Chinatown in reverse. And so that is Agnes that is born. And this is all because in the original movie, when Billy would be on the phone, he would not only be saying the name Billy, but he would be saying like some woman's name. And there's like all this mystery about why he was saying these different names. And so I guess this movie's like, well, oh, it's actually because there's this girl named Agnes, and she's got a really fucked up backstory where she's his daughter and his sister. Ooh, like Chinatown. Remember that classic movie? And so...
you keep repeating this phrase, too.
What? What phrase?
Well, after she has the baby, she said, she's my family now.
Oh, yeah.
And so, then from then on, everybody who dies, I guess, he says, she's my family now. Or
Yeah.
something.
Really queer.
I thought that was dumb.
Yeah, there's a lot of dumb things in this movie. You just gotta have fun with it. You just gotta... It's kind of like back in... back when, you know, they had the whole stupid-ass DARE program, and you just had to sit there suffering through it. And it's like, even though you know it's really stupid and retarded, you just have fun with it. And you just go with it. Because, like, there's another scene, and I don't know if Safi remembers this, but it was really, really over the top. Because there's a poster in a room, and a thumbtack pushes out of the poster.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then we are shown that Billy is looking through a hole that is the size that a thumbtack hole makes.
Yeah. And it was right by these two sorority people.
Yeah, it was really bad. And then also, like, for some reason in this movie, everybody wraps the presents up with newspaper. Like, all these sorority girls, like, there's no wrapping paper in this house.
No.
Except for, like, this one girl in the very beginning of the movie. She used wrapping paper. And she's the first one to get killed. But everybody else, they used newspaper for some reason. And I thought, That's stupid. That's really stupid, Safi.
Well, also another thing that he does is, he saw his mother, and well, I think you only saw part of it at the end, I guess, of it happening, but of her and the boyfriend, which he just showed up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because when he was down there with them, it was just her and her husband. And then he was up in his room, and he had the secret space. He's looking at this gift his dad gave him. And then he hears this noise, or arguing, and then he hears something about her boyfriend. And then that's when he finds this area where he can peek through there, and he hears all this noise, and then he sees them burying, or getting ready to bury him. They're digging a hole, and now I forgot what I was going to say. He keeps repeating. There's something about putting a bag on his head.
Oh,
So
yeah,
all
and
these kills, they're kind of similar.
that's all because in the original movie, they had they had the one kill where there was a girl in the closet looking for something, and then he comes up behind her and puts a bag over her head, and then later on in the movie, she's sitting in the attic in a rocking chair, and it's a really creepy shot. So in this movie, they decide to over-explain that and make it to where it's all because he saw his mother do that to his dad. So he does that to every single victim. He puts a bag over their head.
At the beginning of the movie, before you even hear about his bag story. And they show him killing this girl. She's writing a note to Lay, and
he puts a bag on her head and stabs her.
Yeah.
But that wasn't him, though. That was Agnes.
Oh.
Because, that was when Billy was still locked up. So. What?
Well, that means when that happened, she wasn't born.
No, that was modern day. That's the younger sister of the girl.
I know that. But
that was the modern day. It starts off in the modern day, and it's the sister of the other woman who shows up in the movie, Lay, and
I know, but the father
Agnes kills her. This is modern day.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know, but
modern day.
How would the sister know about how the killings were done when she wasn't even born?
Oh.
When it happened? That's what I mean.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe Billy taught it to her, or through telepathy.
I don't get their. I mean, I know that by incest, he's her father, and he's also her brother. But I don't get their. I would have thought he'd resent her. And so, were they really actually working together?
Yeah, we'll get to that because I took all these notes and I want to mention all this stuff. There's not many notes left. Because just as we said, the main story is just there's girls in the sorority house, they all get killed, and
for one, or how many people were alive? It was more than one.
It was Lay and then the final girl, but then right. Lay got killed in the hospital, so it was just the final girl.
Right.
Which I actually like that because. Nowadays, they would have to have 2 or 3 Whammon survive so you could have the strong Whammon trio for the sequel. But in this movie, they say, fuck that, and they kill that main character even near the end. And it's like, wow, that was actually surprising and cool. And there are other things to mention about the movie that we like, too. I mean, it's not just bad stuff, it's just there's a lot of bad stuff that's really funny to talk about. For instance, in this one bedroom, one of the girls just so happens to be an artist, and she's got all these giant pictures of eyes, and so on her wall, and so it's ooh, even though the killer's not there, it's kind of like somebody's watching everyone all the time. Ooh, isn't that scary?
I didn't even think of that at all.
And then in the original movie, the boyfriend of that one girl, he was a red herring. Remember?
Well, yeah, I did wonder if he was involved somehow.
No.
No, I know he wasn't.
But in this movie, since we know that Billy and Agnes are alive and they're around, we know that the boyfriend is not the killer. So, there's no other purpose for Jake Gyllenhaal Jr. to be in this movie. So I didn't understand that character at all, him being in this movie. They totally ruined that. Because there's no mystery. We know the boyfriend isn't the killer.
No, it's Goldie Hawn's son, actually.
Well, he looks like Jake Gyllenhaal Jr.
He doesn't, though.
Yeah, he did.
Not normally. Not really.
And he's got holes all over the house. At a certain point in the movie, I was thinking he should really be called the Hole Punch Killer. Because, somehow he has made so many holes in this house. I don't understand how he did it when he had the time to do it, too.
Well, now he's locked up in the attic for years on end.
Yeah,
he didn't manage to escape the attic.
Yeah.
So.
How did he do that, though? There's no... They over-explained everything, but they wouldn't explain that. They wouldn't explain the thing that people have a question about.
Which is something I think is pretty important.
It is.
Because he managed to get all over the house, make all these secret places. And behind the walls, under the floors.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's I was expecting, for them to open up the refrigerator, and then there's a little hole in the back of the refrigerator that he's looking through. And how does he get around so fast, too?
Well, I didn't get the thing with the holes underneath the bathroom floor.
Yeah.
I just thought, I've never seen that in anything I've, read or in another show. You always see, if you're watching a horror movie, they'll show a painting, and then one of the eyes of the painting, or both eyes, they'll disappear, and then somebody will put their head up and they'll look out the eye holes. That's up on a wall. So, there'd be space in between the walls. But this is underneath on the floor with tiles.
Individual tiles.
Individual tiles. How do you do that? Really bizarre. It would have been better if they did make him have magic powers.
Yeah, well...
That would have been interesting, because instead of saying he was born with a liver condition, they could have said he was born with this other ability.
Well, the thing is, too, is that him looking in the bathroom was because he wanted to look at one of these average 2006 girls taking a shower, which at least they did have nudity in this movie, which that they wouldn't have any nowadays, because they made another remake, and it's like a feminazi movie. It's PG-13, and it doesn't have any nudity in it at all, obviously.
But it wasn't that of a gratuitous thing like it usually is. She was sicker than a dog. She puked about 20 times. I don't even know what was going on there. She had the flu.
I don't know. Well, maybe it's from drinking too much alcohol.
I guess, but it was gross. I don't even want to talk about it. It's just so gross.
Well, that was funny, too, is the fact that, out of all these sorority girls to show getting nude, they picked the one who's got food poisoning.
Yeah, so she was trying to clean
sick.
Up. And then she has to be helped to bed, and she goes to bed, she's so sick.
Yeah. But that whole thing didn't make sense, because, in the original... Billy was a pervert as well as a killer, and he said all these sexual things on the phone, which they never did that in any of these phone calls in the movie. So it didn't really make any sense at all that he was peeping on the girl in the shower, because he's not really a pervert in this movie. He's just a killer on a mission with his daughter and his sister. So...
a mission to just kill anybody who's in the house.
Yeah.
That's his house. We want him out of there. Didn't he say that too? He called and said, I want you all out of there.
That was the first thing he did. He said, get out. And what did they do? They said, oh, what do we do? Do we call the police? Oh no, there hasn't been a crime committed yet. So then they had a fake out too, where Mary Elizabeth Winstead, she was kind of like the Margot Kidder character, I guess. She was looking through the closet, and in the original, the girl who does that gets killed, but in this, she doesn't. So I guess it's another thing where it's like, this movie, part of the enjoyment out of it comes from you having to have had already seen the original, which I think is strange because that's not what I would have done.
Usually you just start the movie over again.
Yeah, well, you do.
If you're remaking it, you're just starting it over, and you're not dependent on somebody watching the other one.
Well, there's so many references. Like, you had to have seen the original to understand what was going on here. Like, to understand that, like, oh, see, this is suspenseful because in the original, the girl who looks in the closet gets killed. Mm. And then later on, as the girls are getting killed off, they decide to do an idiotic thing that everybody in horror movies thinks is idiotic now. And they decide to split up.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
Even though they openly acknowledged in the movie that it was the dumb thing to do, they did it anyway. What'd you think about that, Safi?
I was dumbfounded. I couldn't believe it. Because, for one reason, they said the roads were so bad, there had been so many accidents, and they had called the police, and they couldn't come for 2 hours.
Yeah.
They've got a murderer around, and they couldn't come for 2 hours.
Yeah, like, just think if, like, in that Idaho case last year, just think if one of those people called the police and they were like, oh, sorry, we can't come for 2 hours because of the snow.
Yeah, thank God that they came when they did. They did find the killer pretty fast.
No, they didn't find the killer.
Yeah, they did.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did.
He's just a fall guy.
I don't believe it.
So, also, and in the original, they never split up, by the way, so that's another thing. Like,
I don't remember that either.
It's too bad. Like, the original, they were a little bit smarter. And, and there was also a very queer shot where the house mother is shaving ice off of the car, and she shaves off a little circle, and in the circle we see Billy's eye peeking through the circle. It is the queerest thing I've ever seen. It's just like, that's all this guy does in this movie, is peek through holes. It's so weird. Right, Safi? Remember that?
Yeah, I do. I just...
And then Mary Elizabeth Winstead gets killed. And you're like, oh, she's one of the only good actors in the movie. Oh.
Oh, it's just weird. When you have your front windshield all frozen up with solid ice, you're not going to be able to get it off in 2 seconds with the tool she was using. And it was just dumb.
Yeah.
And I know they did that so she could see that they could show his eye.
Through the little hole.
But that just wasn't, that's not right. And they lived there. She would have known better. I mean, it's just dumb.
So there were lots of dumb things, but those were all the notes that I wrote. Surprisingly, it ended up being very long to read them, but it's worth it because I had to mention all these things because it just felt like this is a very flawed movie. But it is fun, so it is a fun but flawed ride, in my opinion. Like, I would watch this movie again. Would you?
No.
Well, that settles it for you then, but I don't know, it just, even though it wasn't, like, the greatest thing in the world, it was so much better than what they would do nowadays. And it is a lot better than the horror movies that they're making nowadays because they try to be a lot scarier. I mean, there are quite a few, like, suspenseful parts in the movie, in my opinion. They don't last for very long, but they still have them there.
I guess another thing I should say that I was surprised about was that Lacey Chabert was in it.
Yeah.
Because she is the Hallmark girl.
Well, she was also in Mean Girls.
They are, she's actually referred to as the Hallmark girl, and she's in like a ton of Hallmark movies every year. And when was this made? Because
2006, 2 years after Mean Girls.
Really, that
Yeah.
long ago? It just seemed more of a recent movie.
No.
More recent than that. But she's been a Hallmark
Safi,
actress for years.
It is a colorful movie, and it has nudity. That means it's not recent. That means that obviously movies nowadays, they don't have any nudity or any color in the movie. So, that's how you tell them apart.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah, that's true. It's just that I wonder when she started making, I should look up when she started making the Hallmark movies, because she's like known as the Hallmark girl.
You have a crush on her or something?
No, it was weird to see her smoking a cigarette and standing out on the porch, and then she has to be the one to go check where the fuse box is, because she's got to fix it. Here they're being bothered by some weirdo, and people are missing, and she has to go by herself to underneath the house, which is weird for a fuse box. It just doesn't work that way. I can't even think of any place I've ever been or seen where you have to crawl underneath the house to get to the fuse box. It's just bizarre. And of course, what happens when she does that? She gets
killed. And I will say, too, another thing we haven't talked about yet. Well, I will mention one other thing, is that I was really hesitant about watching this movie because of Buffy's sister being in it, because I'm really not a fan of her at all. And I feel like she's really, really overrated. So
she didn't have that big of a part.
Yeah, I was really thankful, though, that she got killed and she wasn't the final girl, because
I didn't think she'd be the final girl.
I would have hated the movie if she was the final girl, because
I was surprised at who the final girl was.
Yeah, that was one of the good things, was like the final girl in this movie was actually good, and she was actually a very surprising choice, so that was cool.
She's usually, the way they presented her, she's usually the last person they would pick to be the final girl.
Yeah, because she looks like a slut. So, she looks like a blonde slut character. She doesn't look like the final girl type.
Who always looks very
constipated.
Well, just serious, and they don't do anything.
They're just constipated.
Marco.
They are. That's what they look like. They look like they need prune juice.
Serious, and I didn't. And I was also surprised at what of a small part Lacey Chabert had too.
Yeah.
Because, like Marco said, she was in that other movie, and it was only 2 years before that, which is real surprising.
Well, the guy who wrote this movie and directed it, he did write the Squeeze episode.
Oh.
So that's why, Safi, this is like Squeeze. And he wrote some of the better episodes, too, actually, of the whole series. Well, oh, gross. He wrote that one with the reincarnation one that wasn't good at all. So he wrote some good episodes, though, so it's too bad he wasn't able to write a good film. And one of the most puzzling things was why Agnes and Billy were going around killing people together in this movie.
Well, tell them about Agnes.
Well, Agnes, when she was a girl on one Christmas, Billy came down and he kidnapped her, and then he stabbed out one of her eyes and ate it. And he killed the stepdad, and then he killed the mom, and he made Christmas cookies out of her skin. and ate those too. And I thought that was cool. That was one of the better scenes.
Gross.
That was nice and gory and cool.
But
So
tell them about the character of Agnes.
Agnes in this movie, she is a little girl. You know, she is not a trans girl.
Well, she's not oversized either. She's just... And he's not either.
No. But for some reason, when Agnes becomes an adult, Agnes turns into a man. It looks like... it is literally... They got a man to play Agnes as an adult, and they made her look like a zombie woman, like Castle Freak from that movie we watched earlier this year.
Yeah.
And it made no sense why they were going around killing people together. They didn't have any chemistry. They never talked to one another.
I thought Billy would resent her anyway.
Yeah.
Because she... Remember, when she was born, they locked him up there, and she told him, I have this daughter, Agnes, now, and she's my family now.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't her family anymore, so I thought he would resent her. Well, that surprised me that they were together. I didn't get that. So anyway, I think we beat the movie to death.
Well, also we should mention, after this massacre is over and Billy is knocked out and they have this big fight in the attic and this thing where they're climbing down the walls together like Spider-Man. After that whole thing is over, the movie actually turns into Halloween 2. And they go to the hospital, and you're expecting it for it to be like... Because they say, like, all the technicians are going home. The hospital is going to be really empty, you know, like in Halloween 2. And they show the hallways, and no one's there except for these characters. And then that's when Billy and Agnes come to life, and they kill the sister of one of the girls who got killed in the movie, which was surprising. And then they go after the final girl, and the final girl defeats them pretty easily, but it was kind of cool. Like, I did like their final battle because it didn't seem easy for her. It did feel like slightly realistic compared to these older movies where you just, or more so like that Haunt movie we watched where that girl just knocks them down like they're paper. Right?
Yes.
So what'd you think of that? The ending and everything. I thought...
I was surprised there were so many more people alive.
Really?
Well, usually it's just one person. She's barely surviving. And,
they had to make Halloween 2 at the end of this movie for some reason.
Yeah. It was, I don't know how to describe this. Kind of unsatisfying.
Really?
Well, it was just weird. I wish they would have changed the storyline a bit. And made him like, not even had the sister. I don't even think the sister part was necessary.
It wasn't.
And I think they could have just had him. He could have had that supernatural power like in X-Files. I mean, that was just one episode. Why couldn't they have a movie where that kind of skill or trait or whatever was part of him?
Well, that was a very... Well, yeah.
It's just I think it would have made more interesting. Instead of just making a strict serial killer abuse and all the incest, I just wish they didn't have that in there. I don't like that.
Well, I felt like they should have had more phone calls because that was one of the better things about the original was the phone calls. And also cut out the boyfriend, get rid of all the backstory, get rid of Agnes, and make the movie scarier, and then it would have been better.
Yeah, and, all those holes everywhere, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and stop having him, like, look through holes everywhere. Like, that's just ridiculous, the holes. Because they almost represented, like, holes in the plot.
Well, you almost couldn't take it seriously.
Yeah.
Because I just keep thinking about, on the floor, You're talking about a tiled floor. They're octagon tiles, I think.
They are.
1, 2, 3, yeah. And a couple of them are loose, and she kind of knocks into, she's like sicker than a dog. And so she flips over a couple with her feet because she's kind of dragging herself around because she's so sick of
No, she was puking. And her toes were just pushing against the tiles.
When she did that, then you'd see this eye pop up through the hole in the floor. It was almost laughable. Cause you're like,
it was laughable.
How?
You could take a shot every time he peeks through a hole.
I mean, you could say, okay, he's in the room below, but really? You got about the ceiling to the room below. It just doesn't make sense. And I just keep thinking of that. And then there's that shot that Marco talked about where there was a poster, and then the pins, you saw all these people talking right near it on the stairs, and you saw the little pins start slowly pushing out, and then you see an eyeball looking through the hole where the push pin was. This is weird.
And that was like something that would happen in that X-File episode where you'd see the screw fall out of the vent, and then you'd zoom into the vent and you'd see the eye. Yeah. X-Files.
So it seemed like the person making this, they kind of, they had in mind another kind of episode, but they had to make this kind of episode. Or, movie, so they kind of got confused, and I don't know. I don't like it. I kind of liked the Thanksgiving one that we just saw, because I thought it was, nobody ever does Thanksgiving episodes, and they're usually about families that are dysfunctional, and they show them getting drunk or throwing food, or a secret comes out, and either somebody gets mad or they laugh. Or there's fighting and hurting people's feelings. It's just there's never any Thanksgiving. This was like, they're trying to do a Christmas haunted movie, but it's not haunted, and it's a terrible story. I mean, you're talking about a mother who basically is rejecting her son, and then she has sex with him so she can have another child, and she kills his father and says mean things about him, and she has a boyfriend, and they lock him in the attic. I mean, it's just so negative and abusive.
It doesn't feel real, though, because it's so over the top and cartoony.
Yeah.
So what would you rate it in terms of food?
Well, I wanted to think of something Christmas, so the only thing I could think of is you like gingerbread, like the cake. It's kind of like a spice cake, I guess. Maybe not gingerbread, but spice cake, a square kind, but it doesn't have any frosting on it. Usually you'd make like a cream cheese or a whippy frosting, and I say it was a bare cake with no frosting, something that you would eat at Christmas time. And so, because it was in the things that the problems with it are like it's missing some things, and so it would be the cake without its frosting, and it's for Christmas, so it's a Christmas movie. So, what about you?
Well, to me, I just thought of back when we would go to Hollywood Video. That was like in 2006, 2007. I would constantly see the poster for this movie, or I would just see the cover of it. And I didn't think that the cover made the movie look good. I thought it looked kind of trashy. And so I just give it like, it's kind of like a trashy, dumbed down movie. But it is entertaining, though. Like, I would watch it again. I would give it a Papa John's, half pepperoni, half cheese pizza, with a regular amount of sauce, no extra sauce. So it's like you want more sauce, which they never give you enough sauce.
Yeah.
So you have to add your own. And and then with a 2 liter of Pepsi, because Pepsi is really not the greatest. And if you get it, you're only getting it because you're desperate. So that's what this movie is. It is a pizza with Pepsi.
What would you get if you could? What's your preference?
Well, Papa John's has a shitty selection.
They don't have much of a selection.
They might have Sprite, which would be good, or Crush, Orange, or Root Beer. And either of those 3 things would be better than Pepsi. Any of those 3 things. So?
Okay, well, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and become one of our subscribers so you can give us feedback on this video or others, or something to watch. And when it's Christmas time, do you just like to watch Christmas movies, whether they're horror related, or are they Hallmark, or are they just, like Elf or Miracle on 34th Street, the traditional, A Christmas Carol, what do you like to watch at Christmas time? So, goodbye everybody.
Bye!